Good evening and thanks for joining us. I'm Bruce Frisco. Todd Battis is off this week. It is Friday, March the 27th, and this is CTV News. Tonight, eliminating duplication. Feds and province agree to streamline some big projects. Calls for cash. Advocates say senior strategy needs immediate injection to keep the workers.
Cold nights and chilly days this week. The first April rain and showers expected next week.
Live from our Maritimes News Center, this is CTV News at 6. Here is Bruce Frisco.
Good evening. Ottawa and Nova Scotia inked a deal today aimed at speeding up environmental assessments for major infrastructure and resource projects. The provincial and federal governments say this is all about removing duplication, but critics hope it's all exercised cautiously. CTV's Callum Smith has our top story.
The handshake and agreement. It's called One Project, One Review, similar to deals Ottawa has with 4 other provinces, all for major infrastructure and resource projects.
It means that we rely on each other, that we don't duplicate processes, and the province is working through on major projects, other aspects. We take that work as the federal government. If we need to build on it, we do. If we don't, we move forward.
The province will decide whether to use the approach on a project-by-project basis for things like transmission lines crossing provincial boundaries, airports, ports, pipelines, and some mining projects.
I share your ambition for Canada to be an energy superpower. I think Nova Scotia can contribute in many ways, certainly with Wind West. Big progress on Wind West this week just with Hydro-Quebec's interest.
That massive energy plan fully endorsed by the PM.
It's very promising, and the federal government is fully behind it. That is not a project that we intend to talk about for the next decade. It's a project we intend to move quickly to FID decision.
Today's cooperation agreement is even gaining some opposition support.
It's a positive thing.
Nova Scotia's NDP acknowledges the importance of transmission lines as an example.
We need to get things built, there's no question, and we support getting things built, but we need to get them built safely, and this government's track record on engagement and responsibility, particularly when it comes to the environment, is not great.
Part of the concern for the Ecology Action Centre.
I see a lot of so-called cutting back on red tape, but not examining whether our environmental protections are strong enough. In fact, I've seen them weakened in the last couple of years. So I would not put faith in Nova Scotia's provincial environmental assessment system.
Consulting First Nations is included in the agreement and something that's vital, says the Mi'kmaq Rights Initiative. Quote, anyone who is concerned about the environment or how our resources could be used must be concerned when governments push agendas where they are cutting red tape and making assessment processes go faster. Nova Scotia's Environment Minister countered, saying this doesn't mean they'll be reckless or remove any guardrails. So both governments say this is all about cooperation, removing duplication, and ultimately streamlining projects. But as you can tell, some feel that caution can't be excluded. Bruce.
Good point. All right. Thank you, Callum. CTV's Callum Smith reporting live tonight from the News Center. Police in Fredericton investigating the discovery of human remains following a fire in the city's north side. Emergency crews were dispatched to a small structure fire in the woods behind Two Nations Crossing at about 5:40 yesterday afternoon. The remains were discovered inside when the fire was extinguished. The New Brunswick Coroner Service is now involved in the investigation, and no other details have been released by police. A St. John police officer has been charged with assault in connection with an incident last July. The Serious Incident Response Team says it was first contacted by city police regarding the use of force by one of their officers during an arrest on July 5th, 2025. Constable Michael Jackson has been charged with assault causing bodily harm and assault with a weapon. He'll appear in court in June. And just a reminder, for more on these stories and other top stories, feel free to visit our website, ctvnewsatlantic.ca. Nova Scotia Premier Tim Houston left the warmth of Texas for the political heat of Nova Scotia. As we've seen, Houston was back in Halifax today after spending the week at an energy conference, and he found himself facing another protest over cuts to social spending in the recent budget. CTV's Jesse Thomas has more.
Premier Tim Houston is back from Texas, where he attended an oil and gas summit, but he wasn't inside the Nova Scotia legislature long before leaving again for a meeting with the Prime Minister. Houston has faced criticism from opposition for missing time in the legislature while his government tabled a budget that originally saw more than $300 million in spending cuts.
People are upset with him, and he knows it. He's got a lot of questions that he clearly doesn't want to answer.
Houston defended the Texas trip in order to promote the province as a place for industry to come and develop natural resources.
What we need to do is grow the economy, move the province forward. I don't know that there's ever been an example of the economy of this province growing as a result of something in question period.
And after missing today's question period, even his political opponents agreed the Prime Minister takes priority.
It's a good reason. When the Prime Minister's in town, the Premier should take that opportunity to meet with the Prime Minister.
But the atmosphere inside the legislature has changed since Houston left. The Speaker ordered that public be banned from entering Province House temporarily after protests inside the gallery disrupted proceedings.
Fortunately, the incidents haven't been just in the gallery. They have been outside, they have been downstairs, they have been on the second floor.
While some protesters sang in the gallery, Houston points to video that he says shows more aggressive behavior.
Some of the reports made it seem like it was just a little kumbaya session, a little singing. But then the actual videos that come out, some of the behavior up there, pretty remarkable.
Outside the legislature, another protest closed down Granville Street today. It's been a turbulent budget session, and it's not over yet. The government has yet to pass the Financial Measures Act, the final legislative step tied to the budget. Jesse Thomas, CTV News, Halifax.
St. John's energy grid is getting a significant upgrade. The utility and Ottawa are spending nearly $20 million on the project, which includes the installation of some automatic switches that should reduce the number of power outages. CTV's Avery McCrae has more.
St. John Energy is about to power up.
We need to build a grid that can carry more clean power, connect more regions, and support more industrial and economic growth.
That's why Ottawa and the Port City Utility are splitting the bill on a $19.5 million modernization project of St. John's electrical system called Grid Forward.
A significant portion of the funding is to go to augment capacity that we have in the system. A lot of it is associated with upgrading underground infrastructure that we have.
Around 20 kilometers of underground line will be replaced around the city, the bulk of which is located in the uptown. The upgrades will also see the implementation of smart switches, which will automatically reroute power when an outage occurs.
We do not have to deploy crews to manually operate the switch. They can be done from the control room here. The other aspect of the project is we're overlaying that with fault detection, which means it can happen automatically without any human intervention.
The work will be done over several years to minimize disruptions to customers. The utility also says the project supports its goal of achieving net zero carbon emissions.
St. John Energy seems to be ahead of the curve on a number of things, especially when it comes to some of their technology.
Atlantica Center for Energy President Michelle Robichaud says upgrades like these will give St. Johners more reliable and affordable energy rates.
Those smarter systems can really help customers not only better manage their own electricity, but for St. John Energy to better manage their system.
Michelle Robichaud also notes the investment from the federal government shows the importance of the country having a modern and reliable electrical grid, something she believes Atlantic Canada can play a big role in. Avery McCrae, CTV News, St. John.
Okay, here's a live look at Hampton, New Brunswick on this Friday night. 6:08 and 0 degrees in that community as we speak. As good a time as any to get our first look at the weekend weather. And it was cool today, but the sun was out, so that we'll call that a win, I guess.
Yeah, it was nice to see some sunshine in behind that passing cold front. For anybody who has Friday evening and Friday night plans, though, or heading out to those, dress warm because temperatures are coming down. Going to be quite cold for this time of the year. Taking a look at some rainfall reports from the latest weather system that moved through. So this is Thursday into Friday morning around the Maritimes. There were some reports between about 10 and 20 millimeters for some southern areas of New Brunswick. For Prince Edward Island as well, some rainfall reports reports coming in between that 10 and 20 millimeter mark. The rain was up a little bit more than that in the province of Nova Scotia. Lots of reports between 20 and 30 millimeters of rain, and there were even a few communities that clocked in between around 30 and over 40 millimeters, just over 40 millimeters. A couple spots in Cape Breton were into the 40 to 60 millimeter range. Snow, wasn't a lot of snowfall reports. In a lot of cases, it was maybe up to around a few centimeters before that turnover to rain took place. Did get one from a community, though, in the northernmost area of New Brunswick, from Doyleville, picked up around 6 centimeters of that wet snow. There was likely some wet snow accumulation as well up in the Cape Breton Highlands. Now, we're in behind that weather system. The back edge of the cloud cover showing up here just off the Atlantic coastline of Nova Scotia. That's the cold front. It's passed. In behind it, rather clear conditions expected for tonight, just on the colder side. So if you want to take advantage of that and check out what's in the night skies, a couple things you can spot. Waxing gibbous moon tonight. That'll be 70% illuminated. It'll be high above the southeastern horizon this evening. The planet Jupiter will be located just to the right of the moon. That'll be easy to spot. If you have a nice view of the western horizon just after sunset, you should be able to see Venus set as well. The aurora unlikely to be spotted tonight. There will be a pass from the International Space Station at 8:46 p.m., moving from the northwest to the southeast. Bruce.
All right, thank you, my friend. Full forecast coming up in about 15, 20 minutes or so. Canada's Privacy Commissioner are now weighing in on the Nova Scotia Power cyber attack, which compromised the personal information of hundreds of thousands of customers last year at this time. The office is also calling for stronger protections to keep it from happening ever again. CTV's Hafsa Arif has details.
It started with one click. Last year, an employee downloaded malware from a compromised website, which resulted in hackers moving through Nova Scotia Power's system, stealing data, and eventually launching a ransomware attack weeks later.
Important for us to share how these kinds of things happen so that we can all learn from them. It's not about blaming the individual employee. This stuff happens every day all over the place.
And in this particular case, it's impacting 900,000 current and former customers. Canada's Privacy Commissioner notes changes need to be made moving forward. In a statement, the Commissioner says the investigation into the Nova Scotia Power breach is still open, and my office continues to monitor the company's commitments to further safeguard personal information to ensure that they are fully met.
Nova Scotia Power has said, yes, we are committing to improving these things. But what Canadians have to realize is they really don't have to. There's no consequences in this country for massive failures.
Meanwhile, the utility is also committing to deleting stored social insurance numbers. But for many customers, the damage is already done, which is why a class action lawsuit has been initiated.
It still doesn't take away from the fact that the privacy breach caused damages or potentially caused damages to the customers, and they should have perhaps acted better prior to that breach.
And while regulators can demand changes and monitor compliance, the consequences themselves are limited.
They can ask them again to add more information. They can make further recommendations and requirements, but they would not be involved in a civil suit.
For now, it's about fixes and follow-up. But for many, whether it's experts or customers, the bigger question is whether strong protections and laws will ever come. Hafsa Arif, CTV News, Halifax.
The New Brunswick government's new strategy for seniors and long-term care sets benchmarks to meet in the years to come. We told you about that yesterday. But as CTV's Nick Moore tells us tonight, advocates want immediate action on increasing wages to keep care workers in their jobs.
Madam Speaker, I want to talk about seniors.
Premier Susan Holt closed debate on the budget in the legislature today, touting the $993 million earmarked for a new seniors long-term care plan revealed on Thursday.
Something that was long overdue, with work being done by previous governments but never getting over the line.
Jan Seeley is CEO of the New Brunswick Special Care Home Association and says while it is positive to have a plan, it falls short on increasing wages for workers.
Our workforce is in special care homes, they're less than $20 an hour. Yes, we're disappointed. We asked for $2 an hour for our workers in the community to have right away. We didn't get that based on last year's numbers, it looks like we're less than 50 cents an hour.
Premier Holt was asked about that yesterday.
Is 50 cents an hour enough?
Oh gosh, it's never enough. We're, as you know, walking a line with a budget that some will say is far too expensive and we should find more cuts. And then we have critical people in our care system that deserve that extra money.
The business case is strong. If you don't find a way to entice young people to get into this job of being a PSW in the community, we're just going to constantly be dealing with things at this level.
Richard Lozier is CEO of the New Brunswick Association of Nursing Homes and says the high turnover rate of care workers is a key reason why the system is in turmoil.
While we were working on this plan, we were saying all the time we're in a crisis. We're in a crisis. And it doesn't feel that there's a crisis. We're talking long term. So I wish we would have had a short-term plan to put the fires out.
The provincial government says it has budgeted $9.3 million to increase wages for personal support workers in 2026-27. Nick Moore, CTV News, Fredericton.
Get the Maritime's top stories, breaking news alerts, and watch live. Download the CTV News app.
A couple of Cape Breton University students are being celebrated for very different kinds of scientific research. One did her work on the famous property where the inventor of the telephone used to live. The other studied on a very different piece of land, the former site of the infamous Sydney tar ponds. CTV's Ryan McDonald has the story.
It's been nearly 20 years since the days of the Sydney tar ponds, but Juanita McKenzie still remembers the impact the toxic site had on her family.
The sickness and that was going on, and the leaching of the chemicals that were bubbling over on the ground, the smell.
McKenzie was among a number of nearby residents who fought to be moved away from the toxic sludge. Though the area has long since been remediated, she still has concerns about its safety.
Everything's pretty when you doll it up, but it's what's underneath the package that you don't know what's there.
Growing up in school, we learned so much about it. I mean, everyone around here knows what the tar ponds is.
Hannah McKinnon is too young to remember the infamous waste site, but recently the Cape Breton University biology student did research that compared data from a species of fish collected in the area back in 2007 when the tar ponds were still there to the health of the same type of fish now.
So now there is no significant difference in the pectoral or pelvic fin ray symmetry. Back in the day, the tar ponds were more asymmetrical in terms of their fin ray count. It means that they're eating more, they're in a healthier condition.
I used a modernized version of the telephone to take all of my recordings, so it's kind of like playing on what he did so long ago.
Also being celebrated by CBU for her research is Lara Dalton, who spent last summer at Bembrea studying bees in the former garden of Alexander Graham Bell and his wife Mabel Bell.
Obviously, bees are very important for agriculture and pollination with the fruits and vegetables there, so it's kind of bringing both of the interests of the Bell family to like modern time.
Back here at the former tar pond site, which is now Open Hearth Park, the toxic waste is still buried underground.
Basically, they just mixed the contaminants with cement and then filled it over.
But that doesn't stop people from using the park regularly, and it didn't bother McKinnon when she was doing her research there.
I felt safe there conducting the sampling this summer, yeah.
Both students placed in the top 3 in their categories at the 2026 Science Atlantic Environment Conference held earlier this month at Acadia University. Ryan McDonald, CTV News, Sydney.
Thank you, Ryan. Still to come tonight, a very cold night ahead for the Maritimes. Kaylin will be back with his full forecast. Coming up next, though, escalating and expanding.
Now they admit that we were negotiating with them, so they want to make a deal.
More threats and counter-threats and allegations and counter-allegations as the war in the Middle East grinds on. We've got the latest when we come back. The new report says the Pentagon is considering sending an additional 10,000 U.S. ground troops to the Middle East. The White House says announcements on troop deployments will come from the Pentagon, but the president always has military options at his disposal, end quote. ABC's Karen Travers has more now from the White House.
As the war with Iran nears 1 month, the attacks continue. Israel saying it will escalate and expand its strikes against Iran. The IDF saying overnight it struck sites used by Iran to make ballistic missiles and aerial defense systems, including in the capital of Tehran. Iran, meanwhile, continues its retaliatory strikes, firing missiles and drones into Israel, Saudi Arabia, and Kuwait. President Trump announcing he's extending the deadline for Iran to reopen the Strait of Hormuz, giving Iran 10 more days. The president telling Fox News,
they said to me very nicely through my people, could we have more time, because we're talking about tomorrow night, which is pretty quick.
If Iran doesn't comply, the president again threatening to target its critical energy infrastructure. It comes as the administration looks to negotiate an end to the war. During a nearly 2-hour meeting with his cabinet Thursday, the president insisting Iran is begging to make a deal, even as Iran says negotiations are not taking place.
They said yesterday that we weren't negotiating with them, and now they admit that we were negotiating with them. So they want to make a deal.
Trump's special envoy to the Middle East, Steve Witkoff, says the U.S. has delivered to Iran a 15-point plan that forms the framework for a peace deal. Pakistan is serving as a mediator between the two countries.
We will see where things lead, and if we can convince Iran that this is the inflection point with no good alternatives for them, other than more death and destruction.
Iranian state media reporting that Iran is responding with its own demands, an end to the attacks and compensation for damages from the war.
New reports say the Pentagon is considering sending an additional 10,000 U.S. ground troops to the Middle East. The White House says any announcement on troop deployments would come from the Pentagon, but the president always has all military options at his disposal. Karen Travers, ABC News, the White House.
Okay, coming up next, chilly weather for this final weekend of March. Kaylin will have all those details when CTV News at 6 continues after these messages. Live look at beautiful, iconic Peggy's Cove, Nova Scotia on a Friday night. 6:27, 3 degrees, and a few people out there enjoying what appears to be some pretty decent wave action.
I was supposed to say, look at that big breaking wave there just coming in towards the rocks there in Peggy's Cove as well. We got the Adirondack chairs sitting out there. Nobody's sitting in them at the moment, but it is kind of chilly out there. 3 degrees in the wind.
Yeah, well, Peggy's Cove, always windy, of course.
Yeah.
But pretty as a picture tonight, I'll tell you. That's a great
it
shot.
Sure is. Yeah. And, you know, aside from it being colder tonight and chilly during the day for tomorrow, the overall weekend weather, it's not too bad. There's a low chance at certain times of the weekend that there might be a few flurries drifting through. So we'll get into those details in a moment. And the extended forecast, Bruce, the first of our April rain and showers showing up.
Well, there you go.
Yeah, that's right. So taking a look at things across the country right now, quick check-in on weather conditions. It is mild around Vancouver and Victoria. Victoria right now sitting at 11 degrees. It is colder into northern parts of BC, with Fort St. John sitting at -10. A temperature that Fort St. John right now is sharing with Yellowknife, that's sitting at -10 with some sunshine. Much colder to Iqaluit near -26, and there is some cold air as well that's pooled around Hudson Bay and northern Quebec. And I just mentioned that because the northwest wind is kind of funneling some of that colder air in our direction here in the Maritimes, and that's why temperatures are going to be coming down so much for tonight. Speaking of temperatures coming down, it's -4 at Ottawa right now, -2 at Montreal and at Fredericton, Charlottetown, +1 at Halifax and St. John's right now with a mix of sun and cloud, and reporting a temperature near 2 degrees. Let's take a look at our forecast timeline for cloud cover and precipitation. So now that we're in behind the cold front, for tonight, there's just going to be a few clouds around. I'm not expecting much precipitation, though there is a low chance of flurries in Cape Breton, especially Inverness and Victoria counties. Very cold overnight and to start the day on Saturday. Again, a few clouds around and generally a mix of sun and cloud expected for tomorrow, with the winds not quite as blustery as they were today. There will be a low chance of a couple of flurries in the northwestern corner of New Brunswick, but even for a community like Edmundston or Grand Falls, it's about a 20% chance of a flurry, and likewise low chance of a couple spotty flurries around Prince Edward Island and the north shore of Nova Scotia, as well as Cape Breton throughout the day. Mentioned the winds. Let's take a look at our wind gust forecast for Saturday. So first of all, for tonight and into tomorrow, They remain out of a northerly direction. They'll be out of the north on Saturday, and with some potential wind gusts up to around the 20 to 30 kilometer per hour range. Remember, today's wind gusts were mostly between 30 and 50. Taking a look at low temperatures in the forecast for tonight. There's the cold air arriving. We've got a lot of lows that'll be falling several degrees below the freezing mark or down into the minus double digits. Charlottetown tonight down to minus 10, minus 11 at Summerside. Of course, colder in New Brunswick, especially into the north and west of the province. Woodstock minus 15 tonight. Edmundston could be as cold as minus 20. Highs in the forecast for tomorrow in the north of New Brunswick between minus 5 and minus 7, with central and southern parts of the province as well, with high temperatures between minus 2 and minus 5. Your high temperatures on Saturday for Prince Edward Island. Most communities will only top out around minus 6 or minus 7. It'll be a little bit better on Sunday. In eastern areas of Nova Scotia and Cape Breton between minus 4 and minus 7. The North Shore around minus 5, minus 6. And on the eastern shore between minus 3 and minus 5. Minus 4 for Truro, minus 6 at Amherst. City centers, Halifax and Dartmouth for tomorrow around minus 1. Continuing down the South Shore, 0 at Bridgewater, 0 at Shelburne. And it's going to be chilly in the afternoon for the Annapolis Valley with high temperatures around minus 3. April rain and showers showing up next week. May initially Tuesday night to Wednesday morning start as a mix of snow and rain for the Maritimes before temperatures come up enough on Wednesday to turn it over to rain, drizzle, and fog. So in the 7-day forecast for New Brunswick there, we have some colder temperatures through the weekend. Chance of flurries on Sunday, a mixture of flurries and showers on Monday, and then that mixture of snow turning over to rain Tuesday night into Wednesday, followed by a mix of sun and cloud for Thursday and Friday. For Nova Scotia in the forecast, start of next week, a mixture of flurries and showers on Monday, rain expected Tuesday night into Wednesday, that rain clearing out very early Thursday morning, temperatures falling towards the end of next week. And for Prince Edward Island as well, a little mix of flurries and showers to start next week. The next round of snow turning over to rain, arriving Tuesday night into Wednesday. That clears out, and it's chilly with a mix of sun and cloud for Thursday and Friday, Bruce.
All right, thank you, sir. Wake up weather still to come. Next, we'll chat with CTV film critic Richard Krause about what's worth watching and what isn't worth watching at the box office this week. Stay with us. Be right back. Friday night upon us again, and for lots of folks, that means it's a good night to head out to the movies or just curl up in front of one on the TV. Joining us tonight to talk about some of the newest offerings, we are always happy to welcome CTV film critic Richard Krause to the program. Hey, Richard.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Interesting list this week, starting with a new offering from Disney. This one is called Mike and Nick and Alice. Let's have a look at this.
Open the glove compartment. What's this? It's chloroform. What? You don't know what chloroform is? Should I know what chloroform is? Have you ever seen a movie? Yeah, I've seen many movies. And have you ever seen a movie with chloroform in it? Oh, okay, just listen to me.
Sounds like the writing is pretty good.
The writing is good on this. So 10 years ago, 12 years ago, this would have played in theaters and probably done really, really well. But we live in the age of streaming now, where comedies tend to go straight to the streamers. So you'll find this one on Disney Plus tonight. It's an R-rated action comedy, and it involves a lot of stuff. There's hitmen, there's romantic betrayal, there's a cannibal assassin, and to make things even more complicated, there's time travel. And that's why there's two Nicks mentioned in the title, because Vince Vaughn plays present Nick, Nick in our time, and future Nick, a Nick that came back from the future to deal with some business here as well. So there's lots happening in this movie. But the best part of this, I think anyway, is that it's a real return to form for Vince Vaughn. We've seen him in comedies like Nona's on Netflix. We've seen him on a show called Bad Monkey, and they're funny, but they didn't have that acerbic wit that he brought to things like Wedding Crashers and Swingers, and that whip-smart timing that really made those movies sparkle. And it's very much on display here in Mike and Nick and Alice. And if you like Vince Vaughn, you get double your fun. It's like the old Double Mint slogan, double your pleasure, double your fun. So I gave it 3.5 out of 5 stars. And you can stay home and watch it tonight on Disney Plus.
Very nice. If you're inclined to go out, there's a film called Holy Days. Here's a preview.
Brian Collins, what have you done this time?
Blasphemery, sister.
Blasphemery, eh? Well, that's a serious sin. You better come inside.
This one is partly Canadian, right?
It is. The director is Natalie Bolt. She lives in Vancouver. This film, though, was shot in New Zealand, and it's a really charming little movie. It's got two legends of Australian filmmaking. Judy Davis and Jackie Weaver are stars here, as is Miriam Margolyes. If you've ever watched The Graham Norton Show, you have seen Miriam Margolyes. She's on all the time, and you'll know that she's the greatest talk show guest ever. Oh. She's very funny on that show. She's great in this movie. And it's a story of three nuns who are about to get evicted from their convent. And to stop that from happening, they go on a road trip with the help of one of the local boys, a 13-year-old who has an ulterior motive for tagging along. And they go across country to try and find the deed to the convent, so to prevent it from being shut down. And this is heartfelt. It's funny, but it's also about some big stuff. It's about life and love and loss, but it presents all of that stuff in a playful, kind of heartfelt way. So it's called Holy Days, and I gave it 3 stars out of 5.
Very nice. Next up, this is a horror film called Alpha. I'm told this is a French film that follows a teen girl who, after returning from school with a tattoo, is feared to have contracted some kind of lethal blood-borne disease. This one's getting quite a bit of buzz, right?
Well, this one's getting a fair amount of buzz because it's timely, in terms of the idea of a story about a pandemic. But for my money, it doesn't quite succeed because you set it up perfectly. It's about this young woman that comes home. She's got a tattoo that she got at a party, so it's not a professional one. And her mother thinks that she might now have this disease that everyone seems to be getting. But what happens in the story is that they tell the narrative on what's called a broken timeline, so they jump back and forth in time. Okay. So you never quite know where you are in the story. Pulp Fiction did the same thing, only really successfully. Mm-hmm. This movie isn't as successful at it, and so by the time I got about halfway through, I just kind of gave up. Trying to follow along and to see what was happening. There's some nice performances, but it's a 1.5 star out of 5 movie for me.
Right. And finally tonight, A Magnificent Life.
They love your work, and they want to know all about you.
What are you here for, Marcel?
I don't just want you rambling on about us, because everywhere you've been, I've been too.
I noticed this one, I think, was technically released last year, and it's already won like a whole slew of awards.
Yeah, well, it did the film festival circuit, and as you would expect, a film directed by a guy called Sylvain Chomet, because he is a legend of animation, and his films like The Triplets of Belleville that have also done very well at award season and very popular with audiences. This is something a little different. It's not quite as whimsical, it's not quite as stylized as his other films, but it's also a biopic of a guy called Marcel Pagnol, who is one of the giants of 20th century French culture. And so you have here a story that has a bit of magic realism in it. He's trying to write a memoir, can't think of anything to write, can't remember his past. He thinks his time as an artist is over, that he's irrelevant. And then his 13-year-old self comes along and sort of guides him through the writing of his memoirs and through his memories. And the story is kind of Wikipedia. This happened, and then this happened, and then this happened, which isn't the most interesting thing, but the animation is absolutely beautiful. So I gave it 3.5 stars out of 5, and it's in theaters right now.
Yeah, it looks visually captivating, for sure. Richard, we will have to leave it there, my friend. Thank you so much, as always, for your opinions, your insight.
Thanks for having me.
Have a great weekend.
You too.
CTV film critic Richard Krause joining us from Toronto on this Friday evening. Stay with us. We'll be right back. In the Lifeline tonight, when it comes to aging well, attitude really is everything, it seems. CTV's Amanda Debison has more.
A new study suggests having a positive attitude about aging keeps people healthier. The study followed more than 11,000 seniors over a decade, testing them for things like memory, math skills, and walking speed. The results show participants with a positive outlook improved in the various areas more than the others who were monitored. The research can be found in the journal Geriatrics. A new study says artificial intelligence chatbots are giving users bad advice to flatter them. The study tested 11 leading AI systems and found all of them showed varying degrees of sycophancy, defined as overly agreeable and affirming. When asked if it was okay to leave trash hanging out on a tree branch in a public park, ChatGPT blamed the park for not having trash cans and called the litterer commendable for even looking for one. The Stanford University researchers say AI justifying people's convictions makes them trust AI more, boosting engagement. Finally, in an Amsterdam concert hall, the audience stares at their laptops as classical music fills the hall. But that's the point. The plush red seats are filled with students cramming for their upcoming exams and finishing dissertations during the performance. Students aren't being rude by ignoring the musicians, as they're meant to be studying while the music is intended to assist them.
I think music in the background can help you to reach a state of flow. And everybody knows when you reach a state of flow, you can go on endlessly and be enormously productive.
The study sessions have been a hit since they were first organized during the COVID-19 pandemic to help students improve their concentration and introduce them to classical music. With Health and Medical News, I'm Amanda Debison for the Lifeline.
FIFA World Cup set to kick off across North America in just over 2 months. Now, typically, the event would bring record-breaking airline and hotel bookings, but there are some new signs that the current climate between the war in Iran and immigration enforcement in the United States might be impacting all of that. ABC's Alex Stone has more now from Los Angeles.
When FIFA World Cup matches kick off in June, it's all but guaranteed there will be large crowds in host cities like Philadelphia, Kansas City, Seattle, New York, and Los Angeles.
Globally, this is the apex of excitement for men's soccer fans around the world.
But with President Trump's travel ban restricting citizens of 39 countries from entering the U.S., and with war actively unfolding in the Middle East, along with other factors like recent immigration enforcement in the country, some involved in the sport wonder if World Cup attendance will be negatively impacted by politics and war.
We're already seeing a sharp decrease in tourism coming to the United States.
Former professional soccer player and now political science professor Jules Boykoff believes all of the geopolitics will impact international visitors willing to come to the U.S., especially when Iran's team, which can still enter the United States, was set to practice in Tucson and play in Seattle and L.A.
What we're looking at now is absolutely unprecedented in terms of the United States attacking, optionally, one of the countries that is involved in the upcoming World Cup. We've just never seen anything like it.
New travel data shows bookings to World Cup cities during the tournament are less than even in non-World Cup years.
This World Cup, though it is an unprecedented event and so many countries look forward to it, might not be as traveled as we were anticipating.
In fact, aviation analytics company Cirium reports bookings made from October through March to travel from Europe to FIFA host cities in the U.S. in June are down 6.7% compared to bookings last year when there was no tournament. Comparatively, bookings to Canada are down just 1.5%.
It could signal that there is hesitation to travel to North America, and if this depression increases more, it's going to be harder for these host cities to fill seats from the anticipated international inbound travelers.
Travel industry groups tell ABC News despite the data, it's too early to know yet if World Cup bookings will be less than what was expected. No matter what happens with World Cup bookings, the travel industry here in L.A. says it will be ready. Airlines are adding flights to L.A., area hotels are renovating, and there will be bus service from LAX to SoFi Stadium. Alex Stone, ABC News, Los Angeles.
So on the markets today, the Dow ended the day down 793 points. The war with Iran is hitting the 1-month mark, and that is obviously hitting the North American markets overall. B&M Bloomberg's Mirella Fernandez has more.
The war in the Middle East is again pushing up the price of oil. West Texas Intermediate hovered around $100 U.S. a barrel today, with few vessels getting through the Strait of Hormuz. Iran is now trying to charge ships as much as $2 million to cross. Bloomberg estimates about 39 vehicles have made it through in the last week. Typically, 60 would make it through a day. Here are the closing numbers for the day. The Canadian dollar is up to 72.04. West Texas Intermediate is up over $5 today to 99.64. Western Canadian Select up over $4 to 78.55. And the TSX gained 73 points today. Those are your business headlines. I'm Mirella Fernandez.
Thank you, Mirella. Now we'll head outside to Kaylin and the weather deck for a look at the wake up.
It's chilly and breezy out here, but underneath a very clear sky. I talked earlier about how the moon would be easy to spot this evening, and I can see it right above me at the moment. And after sunset, you should be able to spot the planet Jupiter as a bright point just to the right of the moon. Let's take a look at our viewer picture for tonight. This is a nice shot. This is coming in from sunset the other evening from Upper Kent, New Brunswick, sent in by Ron Arbeau. I want to thank Ron very much for sharing this picture with us. Upper Kent for tomorrow. Yeah, it's going to be cold Saturday, starting off the day with temperatures down to the minus teens in the afternoon. High temperature be around -5. Should be lots of sunshine, though, around Upper Kent and much of New Brunswick. Taking a look at our day planner for tomorrow, then, here's a look at the morning temperatures around the Maritimes. So minus teens across the province of New Brunswick. Some areas in Prince Edward Island starting off the day in the range of around -9 to -11. And in Nova Scotia, morning temperatures between -6 and -10. In the afternoon around the Maritimes, it'll be a mix of sun and cloud. It is going to be chilly, though. The north wind will still be blowing, but it'll be a little bit lighter compared to today. Let's find out what's coming up on Your Morning Atlantic.
Monday on Your Morning Atlantic, we're getting artsy.
We'll visit the Art Gallery of Nova Scotia to find out all about their new free access pass, which starts in just a few days.
Start your morning with us Monday on Your Morning Atlantic on CTV2 and Crave.
Thank you, ladies. Finally tonight, a wildcat caught on camera having a little fun with its food has claimed a top spot in a prestigious photography contest. 2 of the runners-up, by the way, were taken in Canada. CNN's Patrick Cornell shows us.
The people have spoken. This wild image of an Iberian lynx playing with its food snagged the Wildlife Photographer of the Year Naveen People's Choice Award. Named Flying Rodent, the caught-on-camera moment in Spain gives us a glimpse of the young cat tossing around its prey before making it into a meal, a common practice for these animals. The National History Museum of London says the prize-winning pick beat out 60,000 entries for the top spot in an online vote. The cat is not the only show-stopping pick. 4 photos also noted as highly commended. Family Rest, showing a mama polar bear and her 3 cubs stopping for a snooze in the summer heat of Canada. Dancing in the Headlights, a silly but not necessarily safe scene of young bear cubs wrestling in the middle of the road in Jasper National Park. Beauty Against the Beast, highlighting the juxtaposition between nature and industry in Namibia. And Never-Ending Struggle, a gruesome scene showing a deer's antler stuck to the remains of a rival that died during battle. These award-winning images are on display at the Natural History Museum of London through mid-July.
Amazing. Okay, so that's the program for this Friday night. That's it for this week, as a matter of fact. The rebroadcast begins in just a moment over on CTV2 and, of course, CTVNewsAtlantic.ca. Updates right around the clock and all weekend long. I'm Bruce Frisco in for Todd Battis. We're going to leave you tonight with the names of all of us here at Bell Media. Have yourself a good night and a great weekend. We'll see you again on Monday.
CTV News, the Maritime's #1 newscast. Watch live on Crave.